So Nintendo made a very interesting announcement this morning, and there's a lot of stuff I want to unpack with this because on the surface level, it seems like a very cool announcement. But once you start to think about it deeper and really think about what the future of Nintendo doing things like this, especially on the Nintendo Switch, could potentially entail, I think that's where things get very, very interesting. Now, in case you have not heard, Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light was announced for the Nintendo Switch this morning, and this game will be coming out on December 4th, so not really a long wait to get your hands on Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. Now, in case you are unfamiliar with what Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light is, it is the first Fire Emblem game that originally released on the Famicom. It never got an official localization from Nintendo until now, and it is coming to your Nintendo Switch on December 4th. Now, this game did receive a remake on the Nintendo DS. I'm pretty sure I own it. I don't think I beat it or anything like that, but it was obviously an enhanced version of the original game, whereas this is the original game just done with an official translation. Now, this game is available on the Japan Nintendo Switch online service. It was announced, I think, like 2 months ago and brought over to the online service, but it was not available in North America, obviously, because, well, everything was in Japanese. You can go onto the Japan Nintendo Switch online service if you have a Japanese account and actually play the original game right now, but good luck getting far in it. But like I said, it's the first time that this game has officially been localized by Nintendo themselves. Now, of course, you can go on places like romhacking.net and get a patch for the original Famicom game and get, fan translations, but this is official, meaning that this is now canon in the Nintendo Switch's thing. This is now canon within the Fire Emblem universe, and I think some things will be very interesting in this story because although you could sort of translate Japanese into English roughly, and a lot of games have done that over time, there could be some new story elements within this that we hadn't even thought about that are being brought about within this translation patch that is being done by Nintendo. Now, what really makes this interesting for me, though, is that yes, this is a Famicom or an NES game, but it's actually not going to be a part of the Nintendo Switch Online service. No, if you have Nintendo Switch Online, you can't just boot it up and get your NES game and get your Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light fix. Instead, this is being sold as a $5.99 download. Now, obviously, there are reasons for this. You're having to put in extra work into this version of the game by localizing it, but this is the first time that Nintendo has actually released an NES or a Famicom game that's being sold on the Nintendo Switch eShop instead of just being added to the online service, which I think is very interesting and could potentially open up a lot of doors that we're going to talk about a little later on within this video. But beyond that, beyond just the standard game download, the $5.99 download that you can get your hands on, they're actually doing a collector's edition of this game as well. So sort of getting into limited run games territory with this, and the collector's edition is actually very impressive and very cool looking. Now, first off, you get a Nintendo Switch download code for Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. And some people are a bit upset by this. It's a collector's edition. It should have a physical version of the game. And yes, I totally understand that sentiment, but you have to remember that this is a Famicom game. According to Nintendo's website, this game is a 30 megabyte download. So putting a 30 megabyte download on a cartridge doesn't really seem all that sort of business savvy. It doesn't really make all that much sense, and it doesn't really seem all that smart if that's something you're wanting to do and sort of make a profit on this. So I do understand it. At least you are getting a download code in this collector's edition, and it's not just an empty box or anything like that. The next thing you get is a deluxe art book for Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light. You don't get a look at what is inside of the book or anything like that, but I think it looks really cool. It looks sort of like a very nice meaty book, probably around 100 or so pages, maybe even longer. Obviously, this is a Nintendo produced product, so I'm sure the book itself will have lots of cool goodies, lots of cool artwork for fans of the Fire Emblem series and beyond. So what else you get is actually very cool as well. You get a custom Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light replica game pack art piece. Now, this looks like a NES cartridge. It is obviously modeled after an NES cartridge. It is actually clear, which I think is a very interesting choice. I'm surprised they didn't go with gray or anything like that as the traditional NES cartridges look, but I think this cartridge actually looks really badass. I like the clear. I think that actually looks really cool, and it also comes with a Nintendo dust sleeve for your NES cartridge. So is this the first time that Nintendo has released the NES NES dust sleeves since the original launch of the Nintendo Entertainment System? I'm pretty sure it is, because I don't think once the Super Nintendo came out that they were manufacturing any dust sleeves for the NES. You also get a replica game box, including an instruction booklet, the protective sleeve that we just talked about, and a world map as well. So once again, you're getting an official NES box from Nintendo in the year of 2020. Like, this is just absolutely crazy. I think the box art looks really cool as well. You can see that there's a big picture that's sort of foreshadowing what you're doing in this game. It is the logo for the game as well, but very cool stuff. You get an instruction booklet as well. Hopefully it is a full color instruction booklet, because, you know, don't half-ass this. Don't do some little weird black and white thing. Give us the full color instruction booklet. And then finally, you get a mini Nintendo Power retro collectible. I'm not quite sure what this actually consists of. It looks sort of like a poster. I'm guessing by the thickness of it that this is just a poster, but it has that Nintendo Power branding, which, once again, Nintendo hasn't really done anything with the Nintendo Power brand in, well, quite a while. They had that little Nintendo Power related podcast, but that's not the same. People want the Nintendo Power magazine, even though magazines are quickly a dying thing in the physical media world. But I think this is really cool. This collector's edition looks really awesome. And then you have a big box to sort of commemorate everything that everything fits into, with an NES style sprite on the front of it, celebrating 30 years of Fire Emblem. So obviously Nintendo is taking these 30th anniversaries that are coming up, and 35th anniversaries and all that, somewhat seriously. We saw it with Super Mario 3D All-Stars getting the game released with a bunch of 3D Mario games, all the other stuff that was tied into Mario as well, and now Fire Emblem is getting a treatment with the original Fire Emblem game. And I really like this collector's edition. Now, this collector's edition is going to be a limited release, much like the original game, so, you know, your mileage is going to vary. Hopefully they make a lot of these, because I could see this being a very highly scalped item and a thing that a lot of people are interested in, because I'm not even the biggest Fire Emblem fan in the world or anything like that. I'm a very casual Fire Emblem player. I used to love it on the Game Boy Advance, but, you know, just as time has gone on, I haven't really played it all that much. But I want this because it looks absolutely awesome. But like I said, this isn't necessarily just about Fire Emblem Shadow Dragon and the Blade of Light getting a translation for the first time and being released on the Nintendo Switch. I think you have to look at the future of what this could potentially mean for Nintendo Switch things, because Nintendo is now localizing old games and doing collector's editions, physical collector's editions of these games. This really opens up the doors of possibility. Could we potentially see a Mother 3 localization? Everyone is a big Mother fan. Obviously, I'm a big Mother fan. I'm wearing a Danzig shirt right now, but I like the song Mother by Danzig, not, you know, Mother the game or anything like that. But there is a huge Mother / Earthbound fan base out there that really wants to see Mother 3 localized. So does this open the door to Mother 3 potentially getting a localization? I don't see why not. Obviously, Nintendo knows that there is a demand for localization of certain games, and Mother 3 is definitely on the top of the list. And the other thing is something that we actually talked about in yesterday's video that I think this is sort of piggybacking off of, and actually makes a very good case for this being a thing. The a la carte service for certain old school retro games on the Nintendo Switch. Like I said, we talked about it yesterday with the Super Mario 3D All-Stars situation, and how Matt Piscatella of the MPD group feels confident that Nintendo will release these games individually after they go away for the 3D All-Stars collection on March 31st of 2021. And like I said, this is the first time that we have seen Nintendo add a retro game to the Nintendo Switch that is not a part of the Nintendo Switch Online service, instead being sold for $5.99. So could we see Super Mario 64 get an individual release on the Nintendo Switch? Could we see Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario Galaxy get the same sort of treatment as well? And what sort of pricing should we expect to see from that? I think now that Nintendo has pretty much laid the groundwork for re-releasing retro games on the Nintendo Switch via an a la carte service, instead of just throwing them into the Nintendo Switch Online service, definitely opens up the doors for things like this and potentially more stuff in the future as well. But you also have to wonder what other games could get a collector's edition like this. Like, really, let's be honest here. This collector's edition of Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light is probably more impressive than the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection in terms of extra stuff. Like, you're getting all these cool physical goodies like an NES cartridge, a dust sleeve, an art book, all this sort of stuff that probably should have been a part of the Super Mario 3D All-Stars collection with a collector's edition of that game. So is Nintendo maybe willing to do stuff with their their older games and re-release collector's editions of them. I think it would be a very profitable thing for them because people love stuff like this. Like I said, I'm not even the biggest Fire Emblem fan in the world, but I want this collector's edition because it just looks badass. It hits all of my nostalgia ticks with this, with things like an NES cartridge, an art book, and other cool stuff, and the Nintendo Power poster. So it's like, I need this. Like, this is right up my alley. So all in all, it is very, very interesting. Nintendo just dropped this completely out of nowhere. I have not heard anyone talking about this until Nintendo decided to showcase it, but I think this is a very big deal. I think this really opens up the doors for possibilities in the future for Nintendo to do more things like this, although it is a limited time release. There is no wording or anything like that as to when this will be pulled off of the Nintendo Switch eShop, but hopefully they give us lots of time, and hopefully they make a lot of these collector's editions, because I think a lot of people are going to want these, and I know that I want one. So let me know in the comments section down below what you think about this. Fire Emblem, Shadow Dragon, and the Blade of Light getting localized for the very first time, being put on sale on the Nintendo Switch eShop, not a part of the Nintendo Switch Online service, getting a collector's edition as well. What does this mean for the future of classic Nintendo titles on the Nintendo Switch? Because I think it'll be a very interesting situation. And as always, guys, thank you for checking out this video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check out other videos on the channel as well. Check out the video from yesterday talking about Super Mario 3D All-Stars to sort of get where my mindset is with this game. And as always, guys, I'll catch you guys on the next video. Later.